police are searching for the driver of a vehicle that struck and injured multiple pedestrians on the campus of Toronto Metropolitan University. It happened this afternoon. The hit and run believed to be targeted. Tyler Cheese has the latest.
Then my friend, one of my friends just told me that, oh, come on, quickly, see, a car just crushed people,
It was really crazy to hear, and I guess I had no idea that cars could get on campus, so I was really surprised to hear that a car was driving through, and I guess I'm just wondering, what happened.
TMU students shocked after a hit and run on a pedestrian walkway. Nelson Mandela Walk is located on the university's campus and connects Gould and Gerrard Streets. Police say the driver may have acted intentionally.
But at this time, it appears that it may have been an intentional targeting of a specific individual on the walkway. We are still working to confirm all of those details. However, at this stage, it appears to be an isolated incident.
The incident happened just before 2 p.m. 4 people were struck by the driver before they drove off.
2 sustained very minor injuries and declined medical treatment here at the scene, and 2 others were transported to hospital. We are awaiting confirmation to the extent of their injuries.
Police say none of the victims are students or staff at the university, and they believe the 2 in hospital were just bystanders.
I made a call to the superintendent of 51 just to make sure that everyone is okay and there were no fatalities. And he reported that no one was seriously injured that we're aware of. So that brought me some relief.
Police say the possible suspect vehicle is a dark green sedan with a cracked windshield. It was last seen driving eastbound on Gould towards Church Street. The suspect's car's license plate is DEDZ 565. TMU issued a safety alert online after the incident, instructing students to avoid the area. Police are asking anyone with more information or video footage of the incident or surrounding area to contact them. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Politicians at Queen's Park are back at work this week for the first time since Trump's tariffs came into effect. Well, this afternoon, the Ford government laying out its priorities in its throne speech, with a focus on protecting Ontarians from the impact of the tariffs. Also mentioned the tunnel under Highway 401 and a commitment to streamline environmental assessments and speed up permits. Queen's Park reporter Lorena Redekop has more.
It's a day full of tradition and ceremony. The Lieutenant Governor presenting the Premier's vision for his government in a speech that mentioned U.S. President Donald Trump 12 times. The word tariffs said 10 times.
President Trump's approach to tariffs has been, in a word, chaotic.
Describing the U.S. as an unreliable partner.
We can no longer assume the benefits of our economic partnership with the United States.
The patriotic messages gaining the support of opposition parties.
Canada will never be the 51st state.
The throne speech also promised to streamline environmental assessments and speed up permits.
Your government will restore sense and sanity to a labyrinth of rules and regulations that bring development in the province to a standstill.
That one of several commitments raising concern from other parties.
We're not going to allow this government to use the threat of tariffs to dismantle the environmental assessment process, conservation authorities, pave over our farmland, our wetlands.
The minister's response?
You can have a strong environmental assessment process, but you can streamline it.
In the face of tariffs, the opposition leader wanted to hear details on how the government will actually support people.
What about all those people who are going to lose their homes potentially? If their jobs are lost, where is the affordable housing that's not being built according to this throne speech?
The government also committed to building a tunnel under Highway 401. And while it did mention building homes, the specific number of how many recited by this government for years wasn't there.
Nothing about building 1.5 million homes. We need homes built. We need them to be affordable.
The new housing minister was asked about that. His response, short and sweet. Is 1.5 million.
Minister, can you look at the center camera, please?
Sure it is.
The speech laid out the government's first priority, removing provincial trade barriers within Canada.
No restrictions, no red tape, just free trade within Canada.
As part of that, the government says it will accept all work credentials from other provinces and territories. More details will be coming tomorrow. In the afternoon, the government will be tabling legislation. Lorena Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Turning now to a troubling report out of Japan this morning that sent shockwaves on the federal campaign trail. It said Honda was considering moving jobs out of Canada in response to Trump's auto tariffs. But as Kate McKenna explains, it doesn't appear to be the case.
Just the threat of these Honda assembly lines grinding to a halt prompted a wave of tough talk and promises from Canadian politicians.
We will fight, we will protect, and we will build.
It all started when a Japanese news outlet reported Honda was considering moving Canadian jobs to the United States in response to Donald Trump's auto tariffs. After talking to the company, Ontario's premier shot that down quickly.
Well, we're going to keep Honda here, and I'll do everything I can to protect the people and their jobs.
Honda Canada issued a statement to, as it said, clarify and correct the report, saying its Ontario plant will operate at full capacity for the foreseeable future, and no changes are being considered at this time.
I don't want to discount anxiety over it. The reality is that company is never pulled back in Canada from crisis.
Ottawa also announced more incentives to fight the effects of Trump's tariffs. Automakers will be partially exempt from counter tariffs on U.S. assembled cars so long as they keep operating in Canada. And other manufacturers will get a 6-month pause on paying some counter tariffs on items like food packaging to allow time to rejig supply chains.
There is no going back. We, in Canada, we will have to build a new relationship with the United States.
Federal party leaders, including Mark Carney, all positioned themselves as best suited to defend Canadian jobs.
We need to really fight back and get these tariffs removed, make sure that we can strengthen our automobile sector.
What we should do is focus on what we can control, and that is to reverse the disastrous Liberal economic policies that Mr. Carney advised Trudeau to take.
These on-again, off-again threats add to uncertainty across the country and could end up being the ballot question in this federal election. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Montreal.
A man remains in hospital with life-threatening injuries after being struck by a vehicle in Etobicoke. Emergency crews were called to the area of Kipling and Horner just before 5:30 p.m. yesterday. Police say a white Nissan was making a left turn onto Kipling when it was struck by a black Jeep. The crash caused the Jeep to continue off the road, hitting the 42-year-old pedestrian. He was rushed to a local trauma center and remains in life-threatening condition. The driver of the Jeep remained at the scene. The Toronto branch of the Canadian Mental Health Association is opening the doors to what it's calling a first-of-its-kind transition house. Located at Carleton and Parliament, the facility will be dedicated to supporting refugees who are dealing with mental health issues. Our Greg Ross got a tour.
It's called the Carleton House, and it will provide space for up to 25 refugees at one time who can stay up to a year.
Each client will have a bed, they'll have underbed storage above the bed. There's toiletries that will be provided for clients when they first arrive.
In addition to shelter, residents here will also be provided with meals every evening and a kitchen if they want to cook for themselves.
We'll also have staples here in the house so that clients can prepare and make their own breakfast and their lunch.
But what sets the Carleton House apart from many other shelters is that all of the residents here will also have access to support from staff at the Canadian Mental Health Association 24 hours a day.
We'll have clinicians on site who can provide clinical mental health supports. We'll also have support for people's social needs. So their housing will support them to find employment, building positive peer support networks.
Michael Anhorn is the CEO of the CMHA Toronto. He says in recent years they've noticed an increase in the number of refugees living in the city's shelter system who are dealing with mental health issues. They are far away from home. Many have experienced trauma and have no family here to turn to.
We've tried to keep this space as uninstitutional as possible, as home-like as possible, so that people do feel that this is their home while they're here.
We want to create a space that people can come and really take a deep breath in and really provide some support that wraps around the individual, looks at what are the needs.
CMHA says they will also be working with City of Toronto staff on this initiative.
Toronto has a centralized intake for the shelter system, and we'll be working with them. So the shelters will identify people with mental health concerns to refer to us through the city.
The CMHA hopes to start bringing in its first residents to the Carleton House in early May. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
As Peel police continue to investigate a disturbing case of animal cruelty in Mississauga, some advocates say more needs to be done to protect animals being sold online. Yesterday, Peel police announced they had arrested and charged a man who allegedly bought multiple puppies online, including through Kijiji, before hurting or killing them. Brittany Billette has this story and a warning: it does contain some disturbing details.
It was heartbreaking to hear what went on.
Mississauga Animal Services worked with Peel Police to investigate several cases of animal cruelty.
I can't lie, I mean, everybody here was devastated, but we have an amazing team that helped solve this problem.
Police say 4 puppies were found in this area, all of them discarded in the open, mutilated with injuries to their nose and tongue. They were all different breeds, only 8 to 10 weeks old. One of the puppies died, the rest are being treated.
Puppies are doing great, they're in foster care, and they will have a good life.
Investigators say the incidents took place between December and March. Police are still looking for 4 more puppies and say more could have been hurt.
It's a horrific crime, and we are aware of how egregious these allegations are. But we can assure our community that we're allocating all the resources as required to make sure that those who commit such horrific crimes are held accountable for their actions.
Police have arrested 43-year-old Jiang Wang of Mississauga. Investigators say he used the alias Joey or John to purchase the puppies online.
I think people that are doing those online platforms, you need to be discerning. You really need to see who is adopting that animal.
Animal Services are encouraging people to use their programs when looking to give away or get a pet.
When you use something like an online ad or something, you don't really get to vet what is happening. If you bring your animals to the shelter, we would investigate where they came from, and when they went out to a new owner or a new home, they would be vaccinated and so on, and we investigate where the animal is going.
The dogs being bought and sold, there would be some tracking mechanisms, there would be...
Some animal advocates say this arrest highlights how the province needs to crack down on online pet sales.
Because right now, with puppies being sold essentially online in the shadows, there's just no way to know how many similar cases might be happening under our radar.
A statement from the Solicitor General's office referenced the Preventing Unethical Puppy Sales Act. That helps deter the operation of puppy mills and increases fines for bad actors. The ministry didn't say whether it would consider introducing oversight for online pet sales. The City of Mississauga says anyone interested in helping displaced or abused animals should contact Animal Services or make a donation. Brittany Billette, CBC News, Mississauga.
An update now on a story we brought you last night. An Aussie-inspired cafe chain in Toronto, currently butting heads with Canadian food regulators, now has the backing of Australia's Prime Minister. Found Coffee in Toronto was recently ordered by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to pull $8,000 worth of Vegemite from its shelves and menu. The CFIA says the spread doesn't meet Health Canada regulations because it's enriched with vitamin B. Well, today, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese voiced his support for the cafe, calling it odd that Canada allows Marmite, rubbish in his words, but not Vegemite. The CFIA clarified that Vegemite isn't banned in Canada, but must be reformulated to comply with local standards. The cafe's owner says he's been serving Vegemite for 5 years without issue until now. With their regular season now done, Raptors head coach Darko Rajakovic spoke to the media today, reflecting on the team's efforts this past season and looking forward to the next.
I think it was a good season for us, year one of rebuild. Now it's time for the next chapter, and it's time for us to make a next step. How do we get there? We get there with doubling down on our habits, doubling down on our hard work, doubling down on believing in our young players and young core, and continue to developing our team.
The Raptors missed the playoffs for the 3rd straight year, but Rajakovic and his wife are continuing their tradition of donating money to children's hospitals for each assist that the team recorded through the season. This year, they raised over $70,000 US for sick kids, St. Jude's Children's Hospital in Memphis, along with University Children's Hospital in Belgrade, Serbia. The Raptors set a single-season record for assists this past season. Welcome back. Peel police are investigating after 3 tow trucks were found damaged by fire in Brampton. Clara Pasica has more from one of the scenes near here, Ontario and Mayfield.
Here on Buff Ridge Trail in Brampton, a little before 1 a.m., Peel police were called to the scene with reports of vehicles on fire. Tow trucks. Right outside of this home here, it was neighbors who say they called 911 after seeing the sight of vehicles engulfed in flames before their eyes. CBC obtained this footage from a neighbor. Brampton Fire describing the fires as fully involved when they arrived. Here's a couple of neighbors describing the concerning sight.
And we saw 2 tow trucks, one on the road and one in the driveway on fire. It started at the front of the vehicle, and then obviously with the flames and all that, we heard shots. Like pop, 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 pop from the engines and all that. So, yeah, it was a little bit scary and frightening.
They threw something in the cars and exploded. And in my bedroom right here, I saw 2 big fires, like in a movie.
Also overnight in Brampton, Peel police attended the area of Venetian Terrace and Bristdale Drive and located a vehicle on fire there, also a tow truck. No injuries have been reported connected to these incidents, but it certainly increased concern from residents that we're speaking to that this could all be connected to an ongoing tow truck turf war in the GTA. Toronto police earlier this year launched a special task force saying that there's an increase in violence and crime related to the tow truck industry. In fact, multiple shootings in 2025 in Toronto have been connected to the tow truck industry. Now, as for here in Peel, Peel police have not said anything about the motivation, released any information about suspects, but they do say that the fire is suspicious and they're continuing their investigation. Clara Pasica, CBC News, Brampton.
Just days from the 5-year anniversary of the Nova Scotia mass shooting that killed 22 people, gun control advocates here in Toronto are urging federal leaders to uphold current gun laws and invest in a federal buyback program that's currently stalled. Dale Manukduk has the story.
It was on November 30th, 2019 when Denise Stennett's 18-year-old son, Joel, was killed in a Brampton shooting.
I miss out on everything that normal people go through, whether it's marriage, graduation, being a grandparent. So every day is a struggle.
Stennett was at a downtown YWCA joined by a group of gun control advocates and others impacted by gun violence, like this witness of the Danforth shooting.
The moment doesn't fade. The fear, the scream, the silence afterward, it stays with you.
The coalition isn't endorsing a candidate, but they're all in favor of strong background checks for new gun buyers, the current ban on about 1,500 assault weapons, and Bill C-21, which bans the sale, purchase, or transfer of handguns by Canadians.
Where there are more guns, there are more gun deaths. I think the laws that are on the table are as good as we're going to get. Politics is the art of the possible. What we need to do is make sure that they are implemented, properly resourced, and we proceed with the buyback program.
Last week, Liberal leader Mark Carney promised to revive the federal gun buyback program launched under former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. As of last December, Ottawa had bought back just a few dozen guns in 4 years.
You can't be serious about being tough on crime if you're not willing to be tough on guns.
Jagmeet Singh's NDP is promising 1,100 border agents to interrupt the flow of illegal guns from the U.S. New Democrats also support a buyback program. But not everyone is in favor of it.
3 strikes, you're out.
If elected, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is promising a series of tough-on-crime policies. For years, he's been a strong critic of the buyback program, saying it targets and punishes law-abiding gun owners.
Why won't the government target real crime rather than targeting farmers and hunters?
The coalition also wants to see investment in social detriments such as poverty reduction, education, and housing. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
A man in his 20s is in life-threatening condition after a shooting in Etobicoke last night. Toronto police say the victim walked into a hospital around 8:20 p.m. He was immediately rushed to a trauma center and is suffering critical injuries. Police initially said the shooting location was unclear, but now say it appears to have happened near Finch Avenue West and Martin Grove Road. The investigation is ongoing and no suspect information has yet been released. Colette joins us now with a check on the forecast. And Colette, the day started in the double digits.
Yeah, we actually, reached our high for the day in the morning hours. We were in those double digits, 12 degrees. And then we got ourselves into this trough in the jet stream here as the winds turned to the west-northwest, quite blustery too, and driving in that cooler air. So there's that trough right across the Great Lakes where the temperatures have been falling. And we do have a couple of days here where the readings are going to be a little bit below seasonal, and yes, even adding in a few wet flurries in there. So when you look at the daytime highs and you see so many areas with double digits other than Barrie, it does happen to be that most of those were in the morning hours. And then here we go. It's not only a few wet flurries back to the northwest of the GTA, over towards Hanover, the Dundalk Highlands, even Goderich, North London, a few centimeters, at least on the grass, kind of accumulating. Otherwise, it does tend to just dissipate there on the roadways. But wet flurry into the GTA, sure. And then we get into Wednesday. We'll have a lot of cloud cover early, but I've stopped this at 5 p.m. and you can see that clearing line from west to east. So if you hang in there a little bit later in the day, some sunshine begins to develop. We'll have sunshine through the day on Thursday, and then it's going to be Thursday overnight. The next system moves in and pushes back into our region for Friday. So showers will return, but we will get that nice day in there beforehand. That snowfall potential, generally it is just a trace, but you can see a few pockets, especially the higher elevations, where it may be 5 centimeters, maybe even a little bit more than that, very localized. All right, these winds, we have to really contend with the breezy conditions through tonight and a portion of the day tomorrow. And then by later in the afternoon, they'll start to back off. But really, we're still looking at northwesterly winds on Wednesday of 20 to 40 kilometers an hour. Our overnight temperatures, around -1 for Barrie, though, -1 for Peterborough, right around 0 to 1 for Windsor for that low. Tomorrow, another kind of cooler day, and then we get towards Thursday, 12 degrees, 13 on Friday, and we get those temperatures kind of back to where they should be this time of year for daytime highs.
All right, thanks so much, Colette. And that's our show for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night, everyone.